Good morning, Jess. How you doing? Nice to see you. Good morning, co-workers, and welcome again to the Digital Marketing Co-work Collective. Thanks for joining us. If you do manage to check in live, obviously always nice to have you. We're joined this morning by Jess Dante. Don't let her accent fool you. She is in the UK. I also got a bit thrown off by that. But yeah, Jess is joining us this morning to discuss a little bit about video content creation and actually kind of doing it from home. Giving us some tips, giving us some insights into what she knows about it. Obviously, quite a big, become a big thing for a lot of everybody, actually, in every industry, creating content, video content is what we're doing now. And this is sort of how we got started during the COVID crisis. So, Jess, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So Jess, obviously, as I say, video content creation has become quite a big deal. It's quite interesting, actually. I was noting to Haley the other day that we noticed everybody, as the lockdown started, a lot of people were creating content, and slowly I've noticed, and I think Haley picked up as well, but I think a couple of people noticed that slowly petered off. People realized that it's obviously, as people have come out of lockdown, they've stopped creating content, which and they've sort of neglected. It's one of those things. It's like a New Year's resolution. We don't always stick to what we start. But what is your take on that sort of trend?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about for so many years now in so many industries, but especially ones that involve digital, is that video. And I think hopefully some companies and some agencies and some clients have just taken this opportunity to finally say, okay, let's start doing video, because at the end of the day, the companies that have been doing video content, they're going to benefit more throughout this, especially if we're talking about local businesses or any business that really values that one-to-one interaction in person with a client or their end customers. Now we had COVID, we've had months of not being able to meet up one-to-one with these customers and clients. And that obviously is a huge deal. But your second to best thing to be able to do that, and it's actually quite scalable, is to have video content. So you can still be building your brand. You can still, be helping your clients to build brand awareness and connect with your clients' employees and things like that through video content, despite the limitations that we're having right now. So I'm hoping that with all the bad things that have come over the last few months, one of the good things that agencies and businesses around the world can take from this is actually video is quite important, and we can still do good video while everybody's working from home and while we don't have access to studios and high quality freelancers and things like that. We can still actually produce good content without that.
Yeah. And I think that's key. I think, look, on that point about sellable and video content and having and maintaining that relationship with our, well, as agency owners, obviously helping their clients to do that with their in audience. I think it's a good point you make, because video can be very evergreen. It can be something that you may put a lot of time into, not even a lot of time, but you record it. You've now got something that you can make use of into the future. It doesn't necessarily have to be only for that moment. I mean, I think about the double shot now that we're doing. We start off just sticking the double shot. We do it. A few people tune in. We don't get a lot of eyeballs on the actual double shot, but we leave it in the community itself, and it stays there for people who do come past and who scroll down the timeline. What we've started to do now is to take that content and cut it up and put it onto Instagram, Twitter. We're putting it all over the place. We're getting a lot of mileage out of this little chat that we do, and a lot of those pieces of content are things that we can then, in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months time, re-put out there because it's evergreen. So, I think that's obviously from our perspective as the community and what we do. But I think about an agency or an end client who's, let's say, they sell tiles or they're a builder or whatever it is. You create content, you take the time to create that content. You've got something that you can maintain that nurturing with the client with over a long period of time. It doesn't necessarily have to be only for this period.
Right, exactly. And, my background is I specialize in YouTube content. And so my business is I create YouTube videos for people who are visiting London, which obviously it's a bit of a slow time right now. But the beauty of YouTube, and I preach this as much as I can versus say Instagram or even, just organic Facebook posts, is that I have videos that I published on this YouTube channel back, 3 or 4 years ago that are still getting thousands and thousands of views every couple of months. But to the point of they are evergreen, and they still get people into my business's ecosystem, and they're still providing value. Some of it's a little out of date, but they'll find the newer version at some point. But as opposed to an Instagram post that has a lifetime of 48 hours, I have these videos that have been up for years, and they're still bringing me email subscribers that are still bringing value to people. So they're like, oh, who's this Love in London? Let me check out her other videos. And it brings them into my business and what we do.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose it's one of those touch points where we all know as digital agency owners or digital marketers that you don't just meet someone, or you don't just introduce your clients to some, generate a lead, and they buy. It's not, if it was that easy, our lives would be very different. But it's about a touch point. It's, not everybody's ready to buy right now. It's about remaining relevant and top of mind to those people as they move down the pipeline, to getting them to a point where they go, hey, I've been watching your YouTube channel for a while. I like your content, it's pretty cool. I'm actually ready to buy a car or a massage or whatever it is that your client is selling. But, I think as digital agency owners, we've got to get really good at creating that content and facilitating an environment that allows for our clients, whatever background or whatever industry or service they're in, to get into that, which I think is an education piece, which is not something that we're going to discuss right now, because I think that is one of the biggest, aside from the getting over the obstacle of, oh, I'm shy, I'm a digital agency owner, and I don't feel confident to actually put out anything. Getting over that is number one, but then number two is actually becoming quite a good pitcher to our end clients to say, hey, I've got a process, I've got a product that I can sell to you that will create you content. I suppose what you're doing for, as you say, getting people into London and that sort of thing. So with that in mind, that's obviously one of the key things that I think you wanted to share with us was advice on, or just tips or anything that, we always say, hey, what are 3 tips that you can give in this quick 10 to 15 minute conversation to the digital agency owners to say, guys, there are 3 things you can do right now, get out of this conversation, go do them, around creating video content from home. Like you said, no big equipment, no access to expensive freelancers. What are 3 things you would say to a digital agency owner?
Yeah, so I would say that probably the first thing, and this might be a little bit obvious, but it's always good to, to bang on about, is as the agency, if you're telling a client, oh, this is what you should be doing, I think in part your agency needs to also be providing that as an example to them. And it also makes for a great case study, right? So if you're telling your client, oh, a YouTube channel would be really great and we can execute that for you, this advice is much stronger, and you're going to have a much better sell if you're already executing a YouTube channel that provides tips for clients, or even if it's something that's completely separate, but you're also walking the walk. So I think that's a really big thing. And then on that note, if this is something that's quite new for you as an agency, I would just say just getting started is really the biggest thing. Like you said, I get tons of people who say they're really nervous about being on camera. Everybody's nervous about being on camera. I was nervous about being on camera all those years ago when I first started. My first videos are terrible. I mean, I still have them up just because I think it's a good example to show, look how far everybody can come. I'm not professionally trained as somebody to, be an on-camera host, but I went from being terrible on camera to being hired by companies to be on camera. And it just takes practice. And that goes the same for if you're not working with a freelancer, actually editing videos, the more that you do it, the easier that it gets. And this is something that I share with clients all the time. The more that you do it, the quicker it will be, the more you'll understand the tools that you're using, and the less time it will take you, and the less daunting it will feel. And I think probably a final tip too would be, and I teach this a lot, is video does seem very daunting because there's a lot of pieces that go into it. There's writing the script, there's actually sitting down to film it, there's editing it, there's figuring out the promotion plan. But what you can do is bulk produce each of those steps, and that will make it a lot less daunting. So instead of sitting down and writing one script, which might take you 20 minutes, give yourself an hour to write 4 scripts. So then when you're ready to record, you can sit down and record 4 videos. It's usually the hardest part, I think, is the recording. So you have to get your hair looking nice and get your makeup on and get, the tripod set up and everything. But if you can I always feel so much better if I've got those 4 videos recorded, because that's the hardest part. And then I'm like, okay, well, the editing's easy. Give me 2 hours, I can edit these four videos. So just doing things in bulk, because then if I've done 4 videos, that's, if I'm producing content for YouTube, that's a month's worth of content done in not that much time. And it just seems a lot less daunting. So, and I think that's something that's, agency side, that's a great method to use, but also like pass that on to clients, because that is feeling very daunted by the whole process is very common. But if you can help them with the bulk producing and breaking down production steps and understanding how, if you do 4 scripts at once, record this at all of the videos at once, blah, 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 they'll get a ton of value out of that, because then they'll actually see themselves being able to produce regular content, which obviously is so important.
Yeah. A ton to unpack there. I don't want to go through it all because I think, obviously we don't have a lot of time if we want to keep under 15. But what I do want to touch on there is, obviously your comment about the setting an example as a digital agency and getting your own YouTube channel going and creating. Dude, you're just another person in the long line of people saying the same thing, because us as digital agencies, we tend to neglect our own stuff. We all know, we're all guilty of it, and it's something that we need to get around. But I think what's key, and what that really key advice you've given there is around that whole idea of bulk creating of the content. And as you say, it's very time consuming, and it's very can be arduous and difficult and whatnot. I think what's key there, and something that I talk about from our own personal perspective as a wholesale digital marketing agency, where we work with hundreds of different agencies all over the world, and they're all different. The only way we get around that is by creating processes for things. So just to piggyback on what you've said there, I'd say is when you're doing that, is make sure you've built processes around the creation of that content. Process for creating the script, process for shooting the content, process for editing. Build your own processes around it. The whole point of processes, ironically, I was just doing this in a video the other day, and shooting this for a video the other day, which is going on our YouTube channel in a couple of weeks, is the whole idea of having a key and a core process around it, so that you can hand that process over to somebody to do for you, so that you, as the digital agency owner, whose time is valuable and expensive, you don't have to get stuck into that, hey, let me now go edit up the content. If you've done it a few times, if you've got a core process around it, you can hand that process off to someone else to do. All you have to do really, as the face of it, is actually build the content and shoot the video. That's key. The other comment you said, I think, which is also key as well, is getting over that sort of fear of just being in front of the camera. Man, that's something that we've spoken about 100 times in these double shots. Everybody's got their own opinion on it. Anything else you would? I think it's you've gone through a lot. I think, as I said, that really the key part that you've shared is that sort of putting it all together and making sure that you do it sort of in bulk.
I do have one more tip actually for the more technical side, and I think you kind of asked me to cover it, but I have it. So in terms of low budget, low tech, this is also a really good time to be really diving into video, because of everything that's going on, people are incredibly forgiving for if a video doesn't look perfect, if there's little blips in the audio because the microphone might have malfunctioned a little bit. They're very okay with this, because we're seeing even now, when we can actually, some countries can start to actually go out and produce things. We're used to seeing for months TV commercials that have been produced on phones and without microphones and things. So using your phone is completely fine. These actually are really good microphones. You can even use this. You can attach it here. You can use it as headphones. pick up a lapel microphone from Amazon or wherever. You can get those for really inexpensive, and just sit in front of a window like I'm doing right now, and you've got your lighting. And that's all you really need. And that's what I personally have used for my own content, various types of content, for years and years. So it's also totally doable without having to buy all the new camera and do this and grab that and set up a whole studio behind you or anything. It's everyone's very forgiving with whatever situation you're currently in. So it's a great time to be really diving into that.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal piece of training and coaching you've just given, because I think you've kind of given permission to people to say, hey, don't worry about looking like a bit of an idiot, and don't worry about, as you say, which is cool, because coming from somebody who knows that this is a time where you can be a bit vulnerable and say, hey guys, listen, I'm doing this because I'm making the most of a shitty situation, so I'm trying my best here, and this is my content, and it's not phenomenal. I didn't go out and spend thousands of dollars on a mic or whatever it is, but here it is. That's pretty cool, because you've given quite a bit of, as I say, permission to people to just go out and kind of do it, which is great. Go out and shoot. And as I agree with you, it's completely a tough time but I think, what else, just to add onto the back of that, is there's so much content out there that we kind of we can't sit around nitpicking at what we're doing. This kind of something that I've adopted with this kind of content that we create. I don't sit around picking away at it too much, because I've got to get it out there, because I've got to take advantage. Let's get in the water and let's get it wet, and let's go for a surf, because who knows how long it'll be. It'll be, as you say with the Instagram post, 48 hours, and then it moves on. People are not necessarily going to remember. You just need to make more content than quality content. That's probably bad advice, and I'm sure I'll get lots of people who fight with me on that. But that's been my experience, is just stick it out there, man. Get it out there. People are scrolling fast, and your content will be seen, and then they'll move on with their day, and then it'll be forgotten. You've got to stay relevant. You've got to keep creating content. You've got to keep churning, which I suppose is the hard and expensive. Well, not expensive, but it's the difficult part, I suppose.
Yes.
Anything else you want to share?
No, I think I kind of covered the bulk of what I was hoping to present today.
Beautiful. So listen, as I said, we leave the live up, guys. If you didn't manage to catch it, obviously it's here. You can watch it out. I'll be tweeting out and putting on Instagram clips from this video. I think there's been some really good value added. So Jess, thank you very much. Jess's details are, Jess, we didn't put your YouTube channel there, but I'll just stick it as a comment, or you can just stick it as a comment underneath the live. No doubt your YouTube channel is something you want people to see. Guys, if you are watching this and you do feel like Jess can add some value to you, or you just want to ask her some questions, please don't be shy. She's winter's coming to the UK, so she's going to be holed up inside for a while and freezing cold. So she's got nothing better to do.
It's true.
You are one of those people that I think went the wrong way and left a nice warm country for a nice freezing country. But hey,
but I'm from New York, so it's even more cold there.
Okay. So. At least New York gets more than 3 days of summer though. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Jess, awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
For sure.